Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Sai from Sai and today I am back at you with my fourth major guide for the Flesh and Blood trading card game. And today, this is going to be Siphon's guide to Verdance, Thorn of the Rose, the new Earth hero from the set Rosetta. A few housekeeping things. This will follow a similar playing game plan to my other ones, where this would be a 90 to 100 page PowerPoint slide. This is going to be just giving you all the information that I can possibly give you on how to become a veteran Thorn of the Rose player. This is going to be accurate as of October 2024. The Dio Armory deck is going to be coming out the following week of this, so not this week, but next week. The Dio Armory deck will come out and change a lot of things. But I did keep that stuff in mind, and I will talk about any relevant things that deck does bring to this kind of guide. But that being said, things are subject to change with new sets and meta shifts. And let's get into it. So why are we playing Verdance? Comes down to three things. Number one, we have the dual nature of value-based Earth cards and terrain-altering wizard spells, and this allows us to always have advantage of each match. We can dictate what is the best thing to do in each match, and we usually will have an advantage of that. At the moment, on hits are at an all-time low. People aren't really trying to hit with very specific things. They're just trying to do good amounts of damage, and we can actually use our healing cards to raise multiple points of value for our opponent's cards. Lastly, we have access to one of the best equipment sets in the whole entire game, and I will always say this until it gets banned. Storm Shard is literally the best card in Flesh and Blood. It is literally Time Walk from Magic the Gathering. And until something like that goes away, if you can play Wizard, if it's even slightly good, you should be playing Wizard, and you should be playing Storm Striders. We have two kind of cards in Verdance. Number one, we have our disruptive cards, and two, we have our combo cards and our combo enablers adjacent to that. So if you guys play Magic the Gathering Yu-Gi-Oh!, I know I have a lot of refugees from that. Obviously, some from Pokemon too, but I'm gonna be real. No. Just no. If you're a One Piece refugee, no. If you play Grand Archive, no. I'm just gonna say no to most other things. I'm gonna be real with you. But but yes, even with Flesh and Blood playing different than both of these games, there are a lot of principles that these decks share. Number one, if you play Yu-Gi-Oh!, this deck actually shares a lot of properties with the Aurora Mage archetype. And on the screen we have Aurora Mage Rosemary on the screen. What are the similarities with these decks? Both decks lend their strength from healing cards and controlling what is allowed to be on the board. Both decks' cards are very modal, and they let us choose when and where to take our advantage. Both excel in the neutral game. If neither side is progressing the game, we are actually winning the game, and that is a very special characteristic that only a deck like this can have. If you play Magic the Gathering, don't play. I don't know why it says Victor there. I'm gonna be real with you. I just can't spell for some reason. But this deck actually shares a lot of things with Heliod Company. Both decks will outvalue any decks if both sides just want to play a fair and just normal game plan. Both sides have common pieces that double as stat sticks. Both can summon very quickly if they go unchecked. And both have multiple 1, 2, and 3 card combos. What will this deck teach you? By the end of this guide, what will we be learning how to do? And what will we learn about Flesh and Blood? We're going to learn about deck synergy, value, combos, efficient turn cycles, equipment usage, and post-combo game states. Let's go over to our matchups. For those who want to follow along, this will be the main list that we'll be looking at. This is a very clean-cut version with very few tech cards. Ignore the Stonewall Gauntlet. It's supposed to be a Goliath Gauntlet. I didn't realize it until after I started making the guide. But this will be what we follow along with when it comes to sideboarding and how we want to play. If you're interested in a CYB list that has a little bit more explosivity and also has the ability to combo on your opponent's turn, This is a list, and I'll go in depth with CYB a little bit later. But here is the list if that's all you're here for. Lastly, a Crucible list. This list is more on the jank side, I'll be honest with you. But it can throw pretty decent numbers turn to turn, and it can catch some decks off guard, but realistically not really an amazing tournament deck. Start off, we're going to be showing you how to do Verdance versus Ninja. We're actually not going to change anything in our sideboard, we're just going to keep the normal 60. You're going to want to go first in this matchup. You're unlikely to going to have room to play multiple potions in the game versus Ninja. Don't lose the game over it. If you have a potion and you have something like for a Felling of the Crown, for example, normal play pattern in a lot of decks is you'll block or Arsenal the Felling Crown, play the potion. Not really in this matchup. If the potion is the only thing you can do, or you might be looking for a short combo, which is 1 to 2 healing potions, and you just combo there, you can put out a potion, but again, it's not something that I'm going to take like 10 plus damage to do. If I can block with cards, I'm going to block with cards. If I can throw something decent, I'm going to throw something decent. We can block with 1 or 2 cards on most turn cycles, and send solid numbers back that gains value from being played. Again, these are things like your Felling of the Crowns and your Plow Wonders, and your CNCs all have inherent value. The moment you play it, for example, like the Plow Wonder, gets rid of the Arsenal. CNC, you can't play D-Rex, and it always threatens our Arsenal. Felling of the Crown literally just says put a card from here on the bottom of the deck. They all just have this implied value once they're on the combat chain. Felling of the Crown and Plow Wonder are your key disruptive pieces that cannot be interacted with. When these are played and you choose to decompose, your opponent must go with what happens. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no countermeasures. They just have to do it. A lot of times they're going to leak damage against you on most turn cycles. There's not much you can do about it. And they won't really disrupt you, though. That is the thing. Now, yes, they can add some tech cards that can disrupt you, but the normal lists do not disrupt a ton. And the disruption they can do against us, we don't really care about. The biggest disruption they have is maybe CNC if they choose to play it. With the banning of Bonds and Art Award, Ninja decks have lost a lot of the punch that they had. Their damage is much more measured and predictable. They lost a lot of explosiveness, but now they're more just math. Like, they just throw really good numbers at you. Now, are they the best numbers deck? No. Are they the best, like, poking deck? No. They lie somewhere in the middle, but that's kind of the edge that they're taking to just having decent math. If they present the card Mask Momentum, the headpiece, normally blocking their second or third attack, should stuff their turn and prevent Mask from triggering. Next, we have Verdance versus Kano. You're going to want to go first in this matchup. This is going to be a common theme because you are a setup deck. For sideboarding, we're going to add 1 Alluvian Enceladus, 1 Metacarbus Node. We're going to take out 6 Rootbound Carapace, and we're going to add 3 Erase Face, 2 Aetherize, 1 Seeds of Tomorrow, take off Goliath Gauntlet, and take out Barkskin. Now, the one big thing I want to talk about is people might be confused about the Aetherize, because in a deck like this, it only really hits Kindle. But 2 things. 1, we have to add something to the deck to have 60, and these are blues. But you'd be surprised how, like, trading a Kindle and an Aetherize, what that can actually do. Because, again, the Kindle's amping one and drawing them card, a lot of times that's going to be a blue, which can either be pitched to play one of the cards that they're trying to amp, or just activate Kano. If you can just shut that down, trade 1 for 1. I actually do believe that can just be game winning, especially if Kindle is a major part of the combo that they're going for. Kano is not a large percent of the Kano is not a large percentage of the meta, and even with that percent, most Kanos are not very good. I mean, look at me, I absolutely suck. You can outskill unprepared Kanos, however, seasoned Kano players will really kill you. If you establish potions early, you will have a window to combo them by turn 4 or 5. You almost will have to inevitably go for it turn 4, turn 5 if you even have 2 potions out. The longer the game goes, the better it's just going to get for the Kano player. Cards like Seeds of Tomorrow and Aetherize can be game-winning tech cards, but on many turn cycles, they can just be useless. Do not lose the game because of these cards. Do not arsenal a card like Aetherize, again, waiting for the Kindle. It's just not going to win you the game there. if you're just sitting on it hoping it does something. Same thing with Seeds of Tomorrow. Seeds of Tomorrow is slightly different because you're getting 5 prevention, so you're usually just negging a wildfire with that card plus AB. We're usually just AB 3ing. You can probably just still die from a Mechano combo where just straight up preventing 5 and being able to be. They're going to need a double wildfire, possibly triple multiplier combo turn. And with the loss of tomes, and since they're not stacking as much, now I do want to say Kanos can still stack you. There is a misconception out there that Kanos no longer can stack. They just have to stack slightly different and have things like the Well of Arcana and the Kindle absolutely in their stack next to wildfires, and they can always respond to your seeds with another wildfire and possibly get you. So you're going to have to make sure that you're timing your spells correctly and you understand what your opponent can and cannot do in certain game states. Things you want to keep in mind is the power cards they've went through. You want to look at cards like Aether Swindle, Kindle, Aether Wildfire, Lessons in Lava, and Blazing Aether. Know the location and how many they have played and what they're likely able to play with their current board state. You will decompose very slowly in this matchup because you cannot block, so saving your earth cards for a Plowender or a Felling at key moments of the game are very important. Do not just decompose because you legally can. You need to be able to decompose and it actually means something, so don't Plowender when they don't have an arsenal. That's just stupid. Don't Felling of the Crown if they responded to you playing it. Don't just continue with your decompose. Just wait until it's the right time and you can get them with a good decompose. Verdance versus Acilio. We're going to want to go first in this matchup. We're going to add 3 Erase Face, add 3 Aetherize, take away 3 E-Strikes, and 3 Ripple away. Acilio will send arcane damage, but it is not the primary game plan. It's more of a payoff, so Arcane Barrier isn't as high of a priority. Similar to Kano, you will have room to potion combo Acilio, but do not tunnel vision on the potions. These can be game-losing lines if all you're trying to do is establish a potion, and you're willing to take 10 plus damage for it. The only time you can force potion combo versus Acilio if they're on the per pitch stacking version, which you'll find out very quickly because you'll see things like D-React, you'll see things like CYB, Counter Blessings. Those are telltale signs that you're against the pitch stacking version. Then you can prioritize combos, and that matchup actually is pretty easy for you. They usually can reach combo by turn 9 if they just accelerate properly, and they don't get any stuttering with their pitch stack. But usually about turn 9, you'll see enough cards to be able to either do a short combo or even a full combo. The signature card of Acilio is Gone Flash and Blast to Oblivion in the pitch stack version. Next, we have the mirror match, the ever just lovely mirror match. We're going to want to go first. We're going to add 1 Illuving Enceladus, 1 Metacarpus Node, add 3 Race Face, add 3 Aetherize, -3 Truth, -3 Ripple Away, -1 Barkskin. This is going to be a classic arms race. Both of you aim to set up potions and decompose as soon as you can. Depending on early draws, either side can opt to starve the opponent's graveyard by not attacking. Commonly, whoever comes off first will lose if they're unable to overkill their opponent. Aetherize is the only card I will keep in my arsenal for the duration of the game, similar to Poison the Well. It can just end the game on the spot, causing a combo to fail. I have won many mirror matches by just sitting on an Aetherize. My opponent goes for Ember Growth combo. I Aetherize it. And if they can buy it back, they are losing upwards of 20 damage just by me getting rid of that Aetherize. Sorry, by me using Aetherize to get rid of the Rampant Growth. So that is the only time I will just sit on a card, not care about anything else that's happening. Next, we have Verdance versus the Runeblades. Don't ask me why it won't let me put a picture of Aurora. I got nothing for you, to be honest. For this matchup, we're going to go first. We're going to add 1 + 1 Living Cells, -1 Barkskin, +3 Erase Face, +3 Scour, +3 Warmongers, -3 E-Strike, -3 Sigil, -3 Truce. The choice between Concealus and Barkskin and Node/Gauntlet is dependent on the playstyle of the Runeblades. The more aggressive they are, and the more rune chance, the better Concealus is. The more burst turns that they want, the better Barkskin is. Importantly, having an AB1 slot is key versus rune chance. You should expect the Rune Blades to present Reaping Blade to prevent your healing. That is one big thing about knowing how to kind of play the game. You're going to be on this tightrope of constantly trying to be slightly lower than the opponent so you can still heal. But it is something that they can counter. It is not something that they have to sit there and watch. They don't have to just sit there and take that. They can also start trading damage with you to get lower than you and then cut off your healing again. So it's going to have to be a little bit of a push and pull. You have to learn when to take your spots and heal, and then when to send damage and how much damage you should be taking. If they start second rune chance against you, you need to be aggressive and get cards out of their hand. Disrupting Vincent as often as possible is the best way to win that. Pitched AB versus blocking is very contextual and depend on your hand versus Thorn and Viscerai. Warmongers will more often than not affect a deck like Aurora, but it is still worth the risk. I mean, there are Aurora decks that literally play Warmongers, so if a deck plays Warmongers, probably doesn't care about Warmongers. But it is always worth a shot. It cuts off things like their Arc Lightning combo. They can't pitch the grass with Thorn like the Royal build. They can't do gold. So it shuts off a decent amount of things. It just kind of depends. You just have to hit it right in that matchup. Verdance versus Prism. This is one of the few times I actually want to go second. In this matchup, we're going to add 3 Erase Face, add 3 Scour. We're going to -3 Sigil, -3 Ripple Away. I've had more success going second and figuring out what I'm allowed to do. While they can run some on no blocks and 2 blocks, and you can leak damage, understanding your path to victory versus their build is way more important. If you don't know what type of build and what type of way that the Prism wants to win the game, and you go first, and they're on a heavy aura build, you attack them, they block a few amount of cards play, or you can just lose the game on the spot because they just start getting way too much advantage. Where if they jump the gun and play an aura, you can just swing at it. Or if they do nothing, you're completely fine, and it probably says they're probably on a more defensive build. You do need to play a high-paced game versus Prism. Playing a long game versus Prism just losing game plan, because they eventually will find a way to leak damage. They eventually will find a way to get enough cards in their soul, and they can start comboing you. Now, the ALS loop is not as powerful once was because of the Bang of Tome of Divinity, but it is still possible. They could also just be Herald aggroed into you. Not entirely sure which one I'd rather go against. Gut feeling says I think I have a better shot versus ALS loop because they don't have tomes, so they kind of have to just randomly go for it at one point because we're able to put a bunch of pressure, especially if we're able to get a bunch of items down. They have to find a way to win like very, very soon, or at least get a gross amount of advantage, or we will just win. Heartbeat of Keno is a secret way to play around ALS. You can play a card, activate Storm Striders, then swing an aura or an anti-aura spell. That is one big thing to understand. Lastly, you want to avoid Pheno Black. Bro's just a menace. But for some odd reason, if you can't, please avoid Noah Clark. He's just literally the GOAT. I don't know what to tell you, he's just the GOAT. Verdance versus Enigma. This is another matchup we're going to go second. We're going to add 3 Aetherize, add 3 Scour, -3 Sigil, -3 Ripple Away. Similar to Prism, I've had more success going second. If they're able to establish a board at no cost, we're just losing. I am not commonly swinging at Spectral Auras in this matchup. Blocking out or playing with a Summer's Fall early for you is pretty good because of Plume of Evergrowth. If you just get it in your graveyard whenever you need it, you usually want to save it for something like a Mirror Guy. They're going to go Mirror Guy. On your turn, you're going to go Plume, get Summer's Fall, Decompose, put the Mirror Guy at the bottom of the deck. And you just erase so much value pretty much for free. It's one of the things that actually make the matchup even playable. And yet again, you're going to want to avoid Noah Clark here. Dark Odious is literally like I said, just go, just avoid him. Don't be a hero. Do not be a hero. Next, Verdance versus Mex, specifically not Dio. We're going to want to go first. We're going to have 3 Erase Face, -3 Channel the Millennium Tree. If you want to know what kind of dash you're facing, you can look at the starting items. If it's Foundry Heart plus Pounder, you know they're going to be on pure boost. Foundry Heart plus Chamber equals hybrid. Tunic plus Evos plus Chamber start equals control. For decks like Max, Teklo, and Control Dash, they are slow enough for you to combo them, so feel free to take it slower in these matchups. Especially the latter two, the Teklo and the Control Dash. Some of these versions are actually on counter blessings, so you will absolutely need to take that slow. Make sure you establish your potion combo. Just shotgunning and trying to play like an aggro deck is not, you're not going to win that kind of game. Just take your time, set up your potions, get your guaranteed win, don't overthink it. And as I just said, if any of these heroes are on counter blessings, you'll need a double or triple rampant growth to win these games. Now, we do have Verdance versus Dio. We are going to add 3 Erase Face and 3 Warmongers. Warmongers sometimes will actually whiff and solo lose you a game, but it's worth the risk to prevent the Dio from exploding all over you. Pause. What this means, so I've had a lot of people recently be confused why Warmongers are good against Dio. Yes, they can just freely boost and that doesn't change anything, but now they can't play items off the top. They can't Tekla Foundry Heart. They can't use their Cerebellum. And those are usually the combinations of things that win the Dio of the games. Now they have to choose between attacking you or setting up. If they ever choose peace against you, you're looking pretty good. Now, they can just set up double or even triple item against you, and then possibly just kill you the next turn. But you're gonna have to stop them some way. You're gonna have to interact with them some way, and Warmongers is your best shot. You will need to lean into disruption. As letting the Dio goldfish you, you'll be dead within a few turns. I've literally been playing a lot of Dio recently, and I've presented lethal into people in turn 2. I've double max feed people in turn 2. It's just, you have to find disruption. One big note, and I actually don't remember if I put it in I did not. So with Dio, I have thought about adding balance to the deck. I have not tested enough games with balance, but Dio will be drawing like crazy. So it is worth the consideration. That is something I do want to let people know, but they can't play around it. Dio will not just brainlessly draw cards if they know you are on balance. They can pace themselves and pace their draws. Obviously, it's on the Dio to recognize what they can and cannot do with their hands, but it's just something that I want to let people know. Next, we have Verdance versus our Rangers. Where I want to go first, we're going to have 3 Warmongers, -3 tree. CNC and Plowlander are the best cards in this matchup, and it's a surefire way to get tempo back if it has been lost. Riptide has actually shifted more towards an aggro game plan. Back when I made my other guys, Riptide was a cringy fatigue deck. Now Riptide's actually trying to play the game and actually trying to interact with their opponent, so you will have room to come if they have a few lackluster draws, but again, I like to treat Riptide more as an aggro deck now, and I like to play my play patterns accordingly. Versus a deck like Isaiah, pace yourself. There will be some terms you're just going to have to eat shit. You're not going to be able to defend against what they're doing, and you'll take a massive chunk of damage, and you'll just lose tempo. It will 100% happen. You need to accept it, and you got to move on and try to pick up and play the game another turn and try to establish an advantage. If you can force the game into a mid-range standoff, you win that game due to your high range of your combo, but do not prioritize trying to force this game state. Watch what attacks you have versus Riptide. Your attacks can naturally gain attack sometimes, and you can walk right into a trap. I'm talking about things like Plowlander, things like Felling of the Crown, where if you have enough cards in your manage on, they will just naturally gain their attack. It is not, you can't just choose for it to not gain the attack, and that is going to turn on things like their Inertia Trap. Next, we have Verdance versus Guardian. We're going to want to go first. We have no change in the sideboard. These matchups are very easy to play out. Most of the Guardians are just too slow for us. So you're going to want to make sure you get your potions out when available. Counter Blessings has been finding its way into many decks, so don't be surprised if it gets played in one of these decks. I like to block out early to fill Graveyard to make chaining Decomposed cards very, very simple. Next, We have what the fuck? This is Verdance versus Levia. I did not change half of this stuff. Next, like I said, Verdance versus Levia. We're gonna want to go second here again, with no sideboard changes. The reason why we want to go second is because if we have a really, really bad hand, we're probably going to be forced to attack to filter cards. If we attack them, they're going to block, they're going to get the graveyard filled. We can kind of solo lose the game because of it. We're going second. They're not incentivized to attack us for very similar reasons. So we usually just get to have tempo for free, even if it's just setting up a potion. We get to set up a potion. They did nothing on their turn. Now they're going to their turn still with no graveyard. So that's a kind of game state I enjoy playing. I want to play that kind of game state versus Olivia. So things you want to look out for are Shadow Realm Horror to extend and Dread Screamers. They allow way more damage, and that's pretty rough if not taken lightly. The best combo is Dread into Graveling. That is 13 damage from 2 cards. That is pretty good. You never want to swing turn 0. Like I said earlier, they'll block with every card available to fuel their graveyard. Biggest thing to look out is for the recursion engine. This is things like Howls and Ghostlies. They're easily ways to fuel the graveyard back up. You want to find spots to push damage and to run them out, because they run out a decent amount of no blocks. The more cards and banish with Blood Debt, the more pressure and the more times you want to push them. Because this can translate into free damage because they might be forced to block and they can't turn off Blood Debt and they're just going to start leaking damage. Last, just avoid Mansent. I hate it. I hate it so much. Just get it out. Verdance versus Reiner. Where I want to go first, there's going to be don't change in the sideboard. Reiner can be a hard matchup for any wizard because the damage that he forces on you. Reiner loves turn 0. You can easily force plenty of damage, and you can just force there to be a life gap at the start of the game, which can just be really hard to make up for. There's a lot of times where they just go double Raging Beatdown to any attack, and you're just at like 32 for some reason, and the Reinhardt just will take that. He won't get an Arsal, but he'll take the 8 free damage against you, and because you run some on no blocks yourself, you may not be able to even stop it. So that is one of the reasons I love going first, because if I can prevent that, I will. Blood Rush Bows can gain a lot of health advantage. There's some damage you just can't prevent, as I said earlier. A lot of Reiner's damage comes from beatdowns. It's a free intimidate and force the opponent to either block with 2 non-equipment cards and take some of the most damage, or flat out take a boosted attack from them. It's even better because it's anti-brute attack. Again, they can literally do it with their weapon. Like I said, Raging Beatdown, very, very scary card. You don't want to get less than 2 life because Reckless Swing damage is unblockable. Now, with that being said, because you have some amount of healing, you can kind of bait this out. It's not something I'd recommend, but I've done things where I've been at 1 or 2 versus a Rhinar and they've Reckless Swing me and I've like Storm Striders out, a Heartbeat, or I've had a Sigil and I baited out. Not realistically. Is that something you want to have to do? No. I'd rather save my Storm Strider, save my Heartbeat for something more important, but it is a line that you could take. Next, we have Verdance versus KO. We're going to have no sideboard changes. KO builds have shifted more towards the ability to play mid-range, so fatigue is not an option. Similar to Levia, KO will have some amount of no blocks, so you'll have spots where you can push damage. CNC Plowwinder are amazing disruption versus KO, and you can't lean on equipment to stop cards like that. Similar to the other brutes, you do not want to get less than 2 life, because Reckless Swing's damage is unblockable, but you do have the play rounds, as I said in the last slide. We have Verdance versus Dorinthia. We have no sideboard changes, and we want to go first. Duelists have gotten way more aggressive since Heavy Hitters came out and introduced a lot of power cards to Warrior. Dory will not have much disruption, so you can actually establish your combo at very little cost. The big thing they have is just implied value with the counters that they get. But I'm down to race to a point, me chaining potions and them getting counters. And until they're on like 3 to 4 counters, I'm actually not too scared of their Dawn Blade. Again, because they're not disrupting me, I'm down just to put my hand down as much as I can and play potions. Dory does have the ability to snowball, so you probably will be forced to block out a few turns. But again, if you're able to establish potions at the cost of some life, I'm definitely down to take that. On average, your pumps will be +3, so keep that in mind when they have extra cards in hand. A classic trick I like to do is every time they swing a Dawn Blade, I check the amount of cards in the hand, and I just add 3 for each card, and that's how much damage they most likely are able to do if it's a 0-cost pump. So if they're swinging for 3, and they have 2 cards in hand, I pretend that they can go for 9, and I go, okay, am I worried about them swinging 9 here? The answer is usually no, so I can disrespect a little bit. But if you're in a spot where you need to respect 9, you can, and a lot of times it will pay off. CNC or Plowlander are some of the best cards in the Dory matchup. She relies on an arsenal for big tempo plays, and removing that or 2 cards from their hand is a massive win. If you can sense they have key reprised cards in their hand, do not block, but sensing that comes with time and understanding the reprised card's value. If they present Great Axe, treat it the same as Guardian. If they present Hatchet, you're going to want to play a beatdown game plan. This is going to be Verdance versus Bolton, and this is going to be all kinds. This is going to be Switch, Combo, and Axe Bolton. We're going to want to go second tier. Normally, Bolton will present Raiden into you. Because, again, we have things like Plowlander. I don't think they should feel comfortable bringing Combo. They can, and they can just hope to dodge the disruption, but it's asking for a lot on their side. If they do combo, you will naturally be able to remove. They will naturally move a large amount of their deck. You have the option for Teague, but this won't be a common thing that happens. Plowlander and CNC are kings here to get rid of Luminous Engines, and Plowlanders can make combo turns hard as well. Victor versus Olympia. We're going to go first. There's going to be no sideboard changes. We're going to play beatdown game plan since Olympia has no powerful one-hits. If they present Great Axe, they'll have next to no pressure on you. You just play a beatdown game plan, or you can actually choose to even do a combo game plan. It kind of just depends on what comes to you first versus Olympia. If they present River's Hot Streak, you also play a beatdown game plan. Same thing. You can just combo them. It really doesn't matter. I have not found the Olympia matchup very hard. Verdance versus Kasai. We're going to want to go second. They should be presenting Saber's Hot Streak versus you. Kasai won't run many pump reactions that affect the current weapon, so that is something a little bit different than Dorinthia. And this should just be a standard potion combo game. Verdance versus Assassin. We're going to want to go first. We're not going to change anything on the sideboard. Unlike other decks, there's actually no need to play more than 60 versus Assassin. You can technically play 63 versus you exactly, and you can play the Aetherize if she goes in popularity, because you can just Aetherize their Transcend cards, but that's a little lost in the sauce and not really necessary, but it is something you are able to do. If they're doing their primary game plan versus you, they're actually going to accelerate your hero ability, and you can actually get to comboing off faster. One of the big things in combo is if you can actually squeak the extra damage from actually pinging them every time you heal, you can just reach higher ranges, which is more than welcome. You can even use your Verdance hero ability as part of your combo piece, and you can be amping that instead of another card, so that is pretty good. Besides leaving no witnesses, surgical instruction, and shakedown, most of their cards just don't do anything. If they're not swinging one of those cards, I usually just ignore them or just set down whatever cards are not necessary. One minigame that I do, and I don't actually believe I put here, is versus New specifically. If they swing a stealth card and I just want earth cards in my banish, I'll just block with my earth cards. New's ability would trigger, put them in the banish zone, and I can just... I've gotten Decompose as early as turn 3 versus New. And that just started a snowball train where I just started prioritizing healing cards. And I started getting a lot of pings in that really started nickel and diming my opponent. I like to play very aggressive unless they present these cards and not play accordingly. These have been some of the easier matchups for me. So let's move on to Verdance fundamentals. Let's learn about combo math. So let's look at a few combos that we can do. These are very simple and straightforward. Obviously, you can mix and match things that you can do, but these are just... If you don't know anything about how the combo works, these are going to be very good outlines. For our first combo, we're going to want 3 healing potions in play, a Sigil of Solace, 1 blue, and Pulsing Aether Life in our hand. You're going to crack a healing potion. You're going to gain 2, ping 1 with Verdance. You're going to crack another potion, gain 2, deal 1 off of Verdance. You're going to crack a healing potion, gain 2, deal 1 off of Verdance. So far, we've sent 3 damage and gained 6 life. Then we're going to play Sigil Solace, gaining 3, triggering and doing 1 off of Verdance. So far, that is 9 damage and 9 healing and 4 damage. Now we're going to play Rampant Growth. We're going to gain 1, deal 1, amp 10. So now we're going to pitch a blue. We're going to search an Aether. We're going to threaten 11 damage. We're going to float a resource. With that 1 resource, we're going to play Pulsing Aether Life. We're going to be threatening 4 plus X. In this case, if we deal the full damage off of certain Aether Tide, it'll be 15. And the cap on this combo is 31. And if they have nothing but blues in their hand and they AB everything, is 15. So if your opponent's at 15, this combo still kills. Second combo, we're still going to have 3 potions out. We're going to have Heartbeat of Candlehold, Rampant Growth, 1 blue Arcane, and a random blue spell. We're going to crack Healing Potion, gain 2, deal 1. Crack Healing Potion, gain 2, deal 1. Crack Healing Potion, gain 2, deal 1. We're going to play Heartbeat of Candlehold. We're going to gain 1, gain 1, gain 1. Deal 1, deal 1, deal 1. You need a blue for this, and you'll float 2. You're going to play Rampant Growth. You're going to gain 1, deal 1. You're going to amp 10. Then you're going to have Surgeon Aether Tide, threaten 11 damage here. And that blue Arcane spell is going to then threaten 12. The cap on this is 30, and it's 18 if they have nothing but blues in hand. Next, we have combo 3. We're going to have 3 healing potions, a Rampant Growth, a Pulsing Aether, 2 blues, and we're going to have Plume of Evergrowth in play. Like before, we're going to crack all 3 of our healing potions, getting a total of 6, trying to deal 3 damage. We're going to play Rampant Growth. We're going to gain 1, deal 1, amp 7. Rampant Growth again. We're going to gain 1, deal. But this one, you don't want to actually deal the damage because we have amped. We want to get the amp on the Arcane spell and the Surgeon Aether Tide, not on the life gain here. So you're still going to gain 1, but you're going to decline the Verdance trigger. But here we're going to actually amp 8. So when we Surge an Aether Tide, we're going to threat 16 damage. Then Pulsing Aether Life will come in for 20. So if they have 0 AB, this is going to hit them for 40. But even on a full grip of blue cards, this is still dealing 30. That is like some insane ranges. And this isn't even hard. You can have this by like turn 3, turn 4. You can do this combo. All these combos can have multiple cards involved and can scale with cards like E-Pots and multiple Rampant Growths. Understanding the math of your combo, you will know the full kill range, or if you're just going to barely miss lethal. This is where we would get into post-combo games, which I don't go to post-combo games often. I more go to short combo, and I just kind of play from there. I don't really inherently treat it like a post-combo game, so the small difference, because I don't believe I go over it in this guide. The difference between me just short comboing just a short combo and me intentionally playing a post combo game. I am comboing just a combo if I need a big health swing and it's like my only opportunity to do it. I don't consider that a post combo game because I'm not intending on purposely going to post combo game. Post combo game, usually they're going to be at 5 or 10ish, and I'm playing very few turns afterward where I can do a combo, send like 20 at them. They can take 20, go to like 15 at that point. Well, yes, it's a little bit above the range. You're going to be playing the game a little bit differently in a post-combo game, and they're at 15, so it's probably a video I'll have separate on the channel. Now let's talk about the secret combo value. There are many games where I've went for a mini combo or even a full combo with intent to play the post-combo game. Normally I do this if I'm behind in the mid game and I need a burst of damage to reclaim hold of the game, as I said earlier. I've done it a lot, but again, it is all about the intent on what you're trying to do and almost how damage. Again, if I can get into that 5 or 10 range, I can intentionally play a post combo game. But if I'm just trying to get a hold of the game, like they're just beating me down and I need to like send some big damage, I'll consider that just a mini combo. Normally this combo is a 30 plus life swing if all goes well. So if you really are desperate, you can really turn the tide of battle. The big thing is, unless you're saying something like Mind Warp or Destructive Aether Tide, as your arcane damage spell, you're not going to be disrupting. But also, they might just be able to ignore your damage, so that is something you got to watch out for. Let's talk about card choices. We're going to look at our weapons. We have Sergeant Aethertide, Waning Moon, Crucible, and Staff of Verdance as the only legal weapons that you should be playing in this hero. There are technically other things like Seer Stone, which is a bad weapon, and Aether Conduct, which is also a bad weapon. Starting with Sergeant Aethertide. For those who don't know what this is a once per turn action where you pay 2. You do 1 arcane damage to an opposing hero, and it has go again. And then the first time the Sergeant Aethertide deals damage to someone, well, no, you cannot play this at instant speed, but like in theory, if you could, first time each turn this deals damage, your next arcane damage spell gets that much more damage for how much damage it deals. So if the Sergeant Aethertide deals 1 damage, your next spell is going to deal +1. If the Sergeant Aethertide deals 7 damage, you're going to do 7 more. That's the whole crux of the potion combo, is we're going to pump the Surgeon Aethertide with a bunch of amp, and then it's going to amp our next spell, so we're kind of carrying over that damage. The reason we're on Surgeon Aethertide is to extend the damage on your combo spells, forcing surges, and damage per turn. And number 2, it allows the way to combo with Rampant Growth and Arcane Damage spiking for 20 or 30 plus damage. No other weapon in the game can do exactly that. All the other weapons have certain uses, but to be able to send like 30 plus damage in a single turn, only Surgeon Aethertide can really do that. Every time you activate Surgeon Aethertide, your opponent has 2 options. Number 1, they can let you deal the damage and give you extra damage on your spell if you have one, which is kind of a minigame. Or 2, they can AB the card and still leak damage on the arcane spell, or they have to choose to defend against a 6-power attack with disruption. It's usually a lose-lose situation. Either they're giving you a card when they shouldn't, or they're not giving you a card and you get extra value on your arcane damage spell. Next is Waning Moon. At one point, I was against this card for many reasons, which some of the problems haven't really gotten addressed with those builds. While you have decent numbers and your Storm Striders has higher kill ranges, your extra combo turns are much, much lower, which I'm not personally a fan of. Any Moon or Moon-based decks, if new information comes to me in defense of Waning Moon, I'm 100% down to try it. I know you can play some very nice tech cards in Waning Moon versions. It's just, I believe those are attempting to get too cute and deriving from the most powerful thing you can do in the hero. Next, we have Crucible of Aetherweave. Crucible's downside has the Moon are very similar, but they do have actually upsides that Moon does not. Your 2-card hands are actually a little bit stronger because of the taller spells you're playing. For example, if I go a 1 for 4 into Waning Moon, it is 6 damage, 100% correct. But if I go Crucible into with a 5 damage spell, and it makes 6, I'm leaking 3 damage guaranteed for the most part, where I'm guaranteed to possibly leak 1. Now, yes, I can take more cards out of their hand with the Waning Moon, but if the most important thing is actually lowering their life total, because most heroes can play on 2-card hands now, I actually succeed in my go with Crucible more, but it's just not that competitive. But it is something very interesting, and the less AB someone has, the better it does get. Now, I have had games where I've killed someone in 5 turns. These are not very common games. You can usually present a win by turn 7 or 8. But for the most part, you're not interacting with your opponent, so it's unlikely you get to just goldfish them. Usually it's going to be them goldfishing you, actually. Lastly, we have Staff of Verdance. While this is Verdant's signature weapon, has almost next to no synergy with most builds. In an ideal world, you're decomposing on defense with Rebound Carapace and using staff and healing cards to slowly grind out your opponent, but you're doing almost nothing the whole entire game. You cannot be proactive with a build like this, so you must either be a setup deck or a defensive reactive deck. You will not be the best or even top 3 in any of those. You're also forced to keep extra cards on your turn and not block with them, which is defeating the purpose of this card. And then all you're trying to do is get value out of the card. I think it's a massive trap. I've seen builds with Staff of Verdant. It's just not good. It's just literally not good. Now let's talk about the cards like Tunic versus Barkskin. The edge that Tunic has the ability to do Surge and Antitide into a 2-cost attack, or do Tunic Stormtrotters and combo on your opponent's turn, and you're able to actually hide the fact that you can combo, which is very nice. Barkskin does give massive block value on Go Wide or on Big Hail turns from Azalea, for example, and a lot in between. Like I said, that is why we're on Barkskin, but Tunic does have its upside. A card like Weakest Link is currently not in the list. It's a card that goes in and out of the list. It mostly just depends on the meta, but the biggest reason is it does not actually move the needle in a major way in the matchups that we would want to play it in. Like, for example, you're not going to win a game versus Aurora because you Weakest Link them. You would have won or lost that game anyway. At least that is how it has been in testing. Looking at the arm slot, while Metacarpus Snow does give us extra reach on our combo turn, and AB1 also allowing us to be flexible on our chest spot, the +2 damage on cards like CNC, Failing, and Plounder allows us to put extra pressure on our opponent. How broken is Plume, by the way? Here I have 6 cards that I commonly get back with Plume, and we can talk about a few plays with each. Being able on a 3-card hand to go Plume, get Felling of the Crown, Felling of the Crown them. Felling of the Crown is always 11 damage, or sorry, 11 value when you have 4 cards in your banish. And that's insane, where you can technically have 3-card 11s. Technically having a 3-card 11. Realistically, it's a 2-card 11, but because we're pitching a blue to Evergo, so you basically have another copy of Felling of the Crown. You get to have 4 copies of Felling of the Crown in your deck. That's really cool. Same thing with Plowunder. You really want to go against that Ranger, and you just want to keep negging them of Arsenal. You can just go Plume, Plowunder. Take away, and they can't do anything about it. I think one of the most interesting things is obviously the Summer's Fall interaction with auras, and a lot of times people are using it to get rampant growth. But one thing I don't see a lot of people doing is the top left and the bottom, sorry, the top right and the bottom left, is getting Pulsing Aether Life to literally, a lot of times I'll go pitch a blue Storm Strider's Pulsing Aether Life on my opponent's turn, and just get a kill out of nowhere when my opponent wasn't expecting it. Or against a wizard going Fruits of the Forest, or against decks that have Dominate, getting a Fruits of the Forest versus a wizard, for example. I can only really AB, 4? So if they come in with a tall enough spell, I could just lose. If I can AB, but I can also Plume and get fruits and discard fruits and gain life, I effectively was able to AB 6. Now, if that doesn't prevent surges on stuff, obviously that's not great, but having the effective life is great. Why don't we run more Decompose cards? While these cards can be alongside our game plan with Decomposing and present decent math, they don't give us any extra utility. Someone might say, well, Blossoming Decay does heal us 1 and can ping. That's just adding to the math thing that we talked about earlier. It's just math. Just like Tilling. Tilling is just math. To 2-card 8. It's pretty decent, but not where we want to be. We can already do that or something different with other cards. If I wanted to have extra Decompose cards, I would add a card like Blue Carapace for the ability to speed through the Decompose process. But we do not need to decompose that quickly, as we are not playing many healing cards that require a high decompose speed of extra cards. So about the art of blocking. And this is an example I used with a lot of new players. This is a 5-hand of Mounting Anger, Blazing Hedgehog. God, I still remember that's not how the name is. That's what we all call it. The Phoenix Flame and Brand with Cinderclaw. So with this hand, they're going to go Mounting Anger, Searing Blade, Blaze Headlong, Phoenix Flame. In this line, with just 1 blue in hand, they can swing for 13 damage, and they can threaten to trigger Mask. And 2 of these cards are breakpoints, making getting maximum block value harder. So let's say here you get the 2 cards on the Mounting Anger and a card on the Everblade. Now you have 1 card in your hand for the rest of the turn, leaving yourself to get punished by reactions or anything at the end of the chain like Lava Burst. Now you must choose to block and prevent the own hits and the damage, or fire back and Withered on Fi. I wouldn't blame people for blocking like this. I even get into bad blocking habits against Fi and other aggro decks, but with time you can notice patterns on how they attack and attack to sense when combat tricks are coming. Next, this is a classic door example that I show people. This is going to be handled where they're going to swing Dawn Blade after they played a Sharpened Steel, which is going to give a +3. You're going to block with the card. They're going to play Alpha Blood and sing Steel Blade, getting Glint the Quicksilver. They're going to play Glint the Quicksilver, drawing Blade Fury, playing the Blade Fury. Because they hit, they can activate Dawn Blade again, and they're going to swing Dawn Blade, and all this is also blue pitch. With a hand like this, and you at least block with any card, this hand threatens 15 damage and Dawn Blade gaining a counter. With one less damage coming from the door, the threat level is way lower. Yes, the counter being semi-permanent can translate into danger later, but something like this is something you can handle. But do not get into the habit of disrespecting decks like this every single turn. It is just a lot of turns you can. Just like Fox, she threatened drawing in the middle of the turn, and actually did successfully, but it didn't translate into the same advantage that Fi gained. Not blocking actually changes the whole turn cycle for the door with no reprise. With these two examples, they both had similar damage outputs, but arrive at it differently. The way to dictate when you block is mighty powerful, a skill to have. I'm not telling you to never block, but understanding how each hero arrives at their damage is something you need to take note of. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end. Oh man, it feels like we just started. It feels like we just got here, guys. I trust this guide has raised your skill level of plotting Verdance. If this is your introduction to the deck, you have learned a lot of fundamentals that took a long time to learn. If you're using this guide to find out how to combat this deck, that is fine. I'm glad I was still able to help someone. The big takeaways from this guide are how to set up correctly, how to combo, and matchup knowledge. My socials are on YouTube, I am SiphonTCG. On Twitter, I am at SiphonTCG. And on Discord, I'm Siphon, and I believe they actually have taken away the numbers from what I get told. But if they have not taken the numbers away, it's Siphon4712. If you guys want to join the Verdance Discord, so we don't get bots, I have the URL there. That URL is never going to go away. As long as this video is up, you can always join the Verdance Discord that I run with that link. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all of the support on my past guides. Hopefully this guide comes up too, because most of the guides are, I think, the Victor guide is my highest viewed video, and the Control Dash guide is my second most viewed video, and I think the Lexi's in the top 10. So let's see if we can get this video into the top 10 just like those, and I'll continue to pump out major guides like this. It has been your boy Siphon from SiphonTCG. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.